Professional Bowlers Tour. Brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Kellogg's Corn Flakes. Simple, delicious, and surprising. Taste them again for the first time. And by True Value Hardware. For quality, selection, and personal attention, make True Value Hardware your store of first choice.
Capacity crowd here at the Don Carter All-Star Lanes. First match is in it. En route to a 207-194 victory. Walter Ray Williams, Jr., 6 strikes. Parker Bohn, his opponent next. Tournament leader is this man. From Seattle, Brian Voss, the Player of the Year in 1988. Let's go up close and personal.
I love being around trees and rivers and lakes. It's relaxing. Bowling is sometimes a misunderstood sport. There's finesse involved, but at the same time, you've got to have strong legs and strong wrists. And when you're competing at the level that we're competing, it's important to take care of yourself and be in shape. If you're at a certain level and the next guy's at the same level, but you're in shape and he's not, you've got an advantage over him, particularly in a major tournament where you bowl 56 games in a matter of 4 days. Running is very important to me, and I can't think of a better thing that is stress relieving than going on a lake or a waterfront and going for a 10-mile run. It's good for me, and it's therapeutic. When I was 19, I had no direction. I didn't know what to do. I really couldn't afford college, so I just decided to join the Army. I was like an untamed horse, and they tamed me. The Army taught me a lot of things. They gave me discipline, which was something that I needed at that time in my life. They got me started into physical fitness. They just taught me a little bit about how important it is to be professional and to have respect for your elders or your boss. One of the most important things I've learned about my success is I remember where I was 10 years ago. I think some important qualities are be kind, be courteous, be respectful. Remember where you were before you got where you are now, because there's a lot of people out there in the world that want to be where you're at, and there are. And I think it's important to remember that. If I had one wish right now, I guess I'd want to play the piano. I have a lot of respect for people that play it. I love it. It's just, I think it's so neat to be able to dream up something and push your fingers and make it sound so good. But I don't play right now, and maybe in the future when I have a lot of time that I could devote myself to that, I would.
Brian Voss, a touch of class. And like me, he is a fan of a great jazz New Orleans pianist whom we heard this week, Ronnie Cole. Match 2, and Walter Ray Williams will shoot first, and the left-hander steps in that you talked to at the top of the show, Bo.
Parker Bohn III trying to break somewhat of a left-handed jinx to the winner's circle and a personal jinx of not winning in 3 consecutive tries. This is his 4th attempt.
6 strikes in his victory over Tony Westlake, 207-194, and he starts with 1. Now, 25-year-old Parker Bohn III, Freehold, New Jersey, is home, 5'10", 144 pounds. Leaving a 7-pin. Young man that seems very much at home on our telecast.
Very much so. Parker Bohn is acclimated to the championship round. He threw that ball very confidently as he grabs another ball. He's quickly up to shoot the 7-pin, and he's an excellent spare shooter.
Let's replay a shot of his form.
Probably the closest thing to the great champion Dave Davis that I've seen. He has that swing inside, pulls it inside, then tucks it behind that left hip. Now watch how the swing comes through. He drops inside and gets a good wrist action, playing the 4th arrow in that line. You don't see many left-handers even attempt, and Parker Bohn is right here contending for the title, playing the deep inside line. And
it's a 6-pin on the left side.
He's an interesting fellow to watch in match play competition. So much of a stoic look on his face, whether he gets a good break or a bad break, as he drifts just a smidgen high, leaves the 6-pin, another easy spare, but he doesn't seem to show much emotion, whether it's positive or negative or any other thing when he's bowling a match game.
One of 17 left-handers that started earlier in the week here out of a field of 160. Parker Bohn. Walter Ray Williams. Striking the first, ready now for the second.
7-time world horseshoe pitching champion. For the record, he holds the record for the most ringers in a tournament, 91.1% out of 750 shoes. That's a lot of ringers, Chris.
On strikes in his second game is 100%. It was interesting to hear him tell us both, Bo, that as a starting player, horseshoe pitcher, or a little experience, 8% would be a good way to be at that point. Wow.
Excellent. I went on tour with him and bowled 20 cities of exhibitions with him 2 years ago, Chris, and I got to play horseshoes every day because we gave not only bowling exhibitions but horseshoe pitch. And he says, I'm getting up to maybe a beginner or a novice county fair player. That's how he ranked me, so he didn't put percentages on it. What he said about our President George Bush is about an 8% ringer shooter, obviously a long way from the 91% of Walter Ray.
There was a distraction, some movement.
Chris, I think he said he turned to Frank Esposito and Harry Golden, our tournament directors, and asked for noise. And you know, there's such a pristine quiet in a bowling center. It's amazing that you can hear anything, the machine or anything can bother you as an extraneous noise, and Walter stepped back.
Leaving the 4-7. Of course, there are many polite audiences, but none better than those that come out to watch our telecasts. They are so respectful of the players, and sometimes it gets too quiet, Bo.
I agree. He's somewhat sedated, Walter Ray Williams Jr. We've seen him in other championship rounds. He's jumping around. He looks like he's riding a horse out there. And today he's just nice and calm and kind of uncharacteristic.
All right. Open with a double, marked with a spare in the third. Now with 2 strikes and shooting in the third, Parker Bohn trailing by 3.
Parker Bohn, who has a benefit for special educated children every year between the Baltimore tournament and the Hartford tournament. And as you see, he has many players up there. And next week, here's a man who'll be defending his title in Peoria, Brian Voss. Now, Bohn, third frame.
All right. Nelson, bowling has become a real great fun time for a lot of people, like tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden Lanes, to benefit a theater in New York. Greatest voice I've heard in a long time. Memories in Cats, Betty Buckley, actress Margaret Kidder are throwing a party bowling at Madison Square Garden Lanes. Sorry we can't be there to see you give them a lesson.
Terrific, and I was lucky enough to see the play Cats, and it's just wonderful entertainment as Parker Bohn steps back off the approach for no other reason than he just wasn't ready. Trails by 9 pins, can take the lead, 4th frame.
And then the left-hander's bucket.
Last night he faced this same shot to defeat Walter Ray Williams Jr. in the 10th frame of the 43rd game. As you alluded to earlier, Chris, they had a tie after 42 games of regulation. Parker Bohn went on to defeat Walter Ray, but he had to convert this 3-5-6-9 to win that match. Let's see if he can do it today.
Yes, practice, practice. We're in our second match of the Greater New Orleans Open. More following this.
Well, you're in trouble already. I don't do flakes anymore. Come on, you want to make a splash for the cereal of the day, you got to jazz it up. Nuts, chocolate chips. Nothing here but flakes. Not something so simple. Now, I see you don't want to be full of stuff like the other guys. They zig, you zag. Very clever. I like it.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Corn Flakes?
Taste them again for the first time.
People who count on my breaks are important to me. So the people who work on my breaks are important to me. The people who work on your brakes at Midas are trained brake experts. Remember, nobody beats Midas. Nobody.
Have you ever seen those commercials where one battery outlasts the others? We'd just like you to know Energizer batteries were never invited to their playoffs. A word to the wise, Energize.
One of the ring's toughest fighters, IBF lightweight champ Greg Haugen meets the #1 contender, Pernell Whitaker. Live next on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Just had a fifth frame strike for Parker Bohn III, as running a little bit behind our time schedule. While we were away, his opponent, Walter Ray Williams, had a double in the striking in the 4th and 5th and took a 19-pin lead. But Parker with a strike now, as he gets a re-rack, could pull within 9 in our second match. Okay, a break for Parker Bohn. What a delay on that 10-pin on the left lane.
What a terrific break. Parker gets his ball drifts real high. Now watch the action of this 3-pin. It's going to get over between the 6 and 10 pins, and it's going to make his day. It looks like an apparent split turned into a strike. There's the 3-pin. It's dancing around, does the action on the 6, and just pops out the 10. Bohn now only trails by 9.
Not a solid 8 for Walter Ray with the double working.
At this level of bowling, the very best in the world, a break one way or another can make the match. Here, Walter just gets a horrible break as his ball goes right through the 1 and 3. The 5 chops off, straight back off the 8. And what was a potential 19-pin lead has been reduced to just 8.
The winner of this, our second game, will meet Pete McCordic. And then the winner of the semifinal will go against Brian Voss, who continues to warm up off to our right. Capacity crowd.
Walter Ray Williams Jr., the full grip, just barely gets the tips of his fingers in that bowling ball, spreads that index finger. That's actually his key point. He keys his shot off the index finger and tries to have his elbow and wrist follow that finger.
Pin. Showing very little emotion today, Walter Ray.
You know there's got to be something going through his mind, Chris. He's quite the cerebral player and great match game player, and I think he's just trying to change his demeanor on the lanes. He's been unlucky a little bit in the championship round. Maybe he's trying to make his opponents fall asleep and think he's not trying.
All right. Very close second match.
Who could ask for anything more?
Ask him if it has a 5-speed transmission like Isuzu.
Does it have a 5-speed transmission? Well, I'm going to check on that.
Ask him if it has a bigger payload than Isuzu.
Ignore him?
Or better mileage.
Does it? Not exactly. No!
Ask him why it costs hundreds more than Isuzu.
No!
Right now, you could save up to $700 on America's lowest priced import truck.
Year after year, more dentists recommend Crest than any other toothpaste.
Show 'em your best. Ooh, yeah. Show 'em your Crest. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Show 'em your Crest.
Why brush with anything else?
Thanks to Crest, your next dental visit can turn into a real vacation when you enter the Which Crest is Best sweepstakes. Win a Hawaiian vacation and cruise or one of 2,000 other prizes. Details in participating dentist offices. So ask your dentist or hygienist which Crest is best for you.
Will it play in Peoria? Yes, if it's the $150,000 True Value Open. Next time, at Heartland on ABC's Professional Bowlers Tour.
Here in Harvey, Louisiana, near New Orleans itself, while we were away, bowling through, Parker Bohn left a 7-pin on the right lane, covered it to mark with a spare in the 7th frame, now shooting in the 8th. 8 pins. That's all that Bohn trails by. And then the 3.56. Pete McCordic will meet the winner.
Pete McCordic, obviously one of the top players, rolled 300 2 years ago in our championship round. And looking at Parker Bohn as he leaves the 3.56, just kind of a half-hearted effort. It looks to me that Walter Ray Williams Jr. is putting these guys to sleep, the old sleeping hold.
I guess he's known to have been hypnotic at times, especially in 1986 when he was the Player of the Year. He really ruled. So now he's up.
Walter, who rolls the ball very similar to almost an amateur. He's varies his speed, throws very little hook. I'd say 5 or 6 board break at the most. But with that terrific hand-eye coordination, tremendous confidence, he's the man to beat right now.
And with the high hit, it is a 4-6-10.
Walter Ray went from leading the match to being in the rears after this. All he can do is shoot a ball over towards the 6 and 10, hope he can bounce it out and knock the 4 down. He'll take no chances of missing both the 6 and 10. He'll be trailing by 3 pins.
All right. As it cost Tony Westlake in the first match, which Walter Ray won, this could be that costly for Walter Ray here in his second game. 9th frame coming up for Williams. Greg Hagen against Pernell Whitaker for the IBF World Lightweight Championship and World Bobsled Championships.
Whitaker will have a chance, Chris, if he's in top shape. They're going 12 rounds. I don't know. Hagen's awfully, awfully tough. It's going to be a great match.
Hagen very relentless. Pretty good puncher with 11 knockouts. But Sweet Pea Whitaker has a lot of ability.
Another man with a lot of ability. 4th championship round, has failed to win a game this year. He now has the lead and can control his own destiny. He has a potential 225. Williams a potential 222. It's up to Bohn to throw some strikes.
And then he comes up with a Walter Ray Williams, 4-6-10.
Almost needless to say that each player in a position to really lock up the match as we get this tight view of the ball just slicing through the center of the pins. The 3 pin going around the 6, the 2 around the 4, that nobody's been able to take advantage.
What speed on that left-handed shot. But it's an open in the important 9th, trailing by 11 now.
Let's take a look at the possibilities. Parker Bohn going at a 191 pace, Williams at a 202 pace, and Williams has been very fortunate so far that his opponents in critical situations have given him open frames to allow him to take the lead sitting on the bench. But if Bohn can throw 2 strikes, the match is up for grabs.
There's the first of a needed 2 for Bohn.
He knows what faces him. With that strike, he forces Walter Ray Williams Jr. to at least mark in the 10th frame. With another strike, he'd force Walter Ray Williams Jr. to either strike and spare on his first or second ball in the 10th. Still an outside chance of a tie.
Look at that disappointment.
Pretty good shot as Walter Ray reacts to it. Parker Bohn playing right down the middle of the lane. See the deep inside line. His ball's coming from the center lane. Doesn't have much of an angle of attack on the 5 pin. He just nicks it. Doesn't get enough impetus over to knock out the 10. He'll finish with 191. Walter Ray will have to mark.
Bohn, who in his last 7 telecasts, he's won 1 title, losing 5 times to the eventual winner.
Needs any kind of mark, a strike on this shot or a spare, and he will go on to meet Houston, Texas, Pete McCordic.
So Walter Ray Williams has won 2 games here in the Greater New Orleans Open. He'll go against Pete McCordic. That match will be coming up following these messages.
3-6, 9-10, one of the toughest spares in all of bowling. In fact, the pros rate it as the toughest spare they have to shoot in a championship round. Today's bowling tip of the week will show you how you can increase your chances of making this difficult spare with an exception to the spare rule. Our normal spare rule says stand on the left side of the approach. Take your wrist and break it down to kill the ball so it doesn't have any hook power. Well, this doesn't work with the 3-6, 9-10 because the 9-pin often stands. What the pros do is they move more to the center of the lane. They set their ball up in a hook ball position with their wrist cocked for like a strike ball, and they roll a shot around the first arrow out near the gutter so the ball comes in behind the 3 and 6 pins and takes out the 9. Watch this. There it is. Remember, move to the right side of the approach, hold that wrist up in strike ball position. You'll increase your chances of making this very difficult spare.
Now let Bo help you score even more. You'll also fix problems, improve strategy, and practice smarter with Bo Burton's new bowling video.
This video is for you.
ABC Sports brings you Bo Burton's instructional video, Score More. Just $24.98 plus $3 shipping. Call 1-800-4ABC-VCR. That's 1-800-4ABC-VCR.
Beautiful rooms come in a can. A can of True Test Easy Care paint from True Value Hardware. Easy Care is spatter resistant to go on neatly, and it comes in 4 finishes and hundreds of decorator colors. So whether it's soft, subtle flat finish, rich velvety flat enamel, scrubbable semi-gloss enamel, or brilliant gloss enamel, start your beautiful rooms with True Test Easy Care paint from participating True Value Hardware stores and home centers.
Last year, Ebonite took you to a new plateau of excellence on Oily Lane with the Thunderbolt. Now the Thunder rolls on with the new Thunderbolt MD for medium to dry lanes. The same devastating power core and an exclusive new MD cover that makes it hunt down the pocket and hit harder with less deflection on medium to dry lanes. Make some thunder of your own. Ask your pro about the Thunderbolt MD from Ebonite.
Riverboat look-alike. Walter Ray Williams Jr. has won his second match. 8 strikes, 222. Parker Bohn 191. Backstage in a bowling establishment. What an ingenious group that came up with that automatic pin spotter, pin setter. Wow.
Pin setter's been around since the World War I, Chris, and they never really got going until the late 1950s, and they changed the game. As we see the next 2 stops, the defending champion of True Value Open is our tournament leader, Brian Voss. Then we go to the Showboat Classic in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
And speaking of great bowling establishments, the 2 we'll be visiting are superior.
Some of the best, as you see the size of the field, 160 average game for the whole field, 202, 210. Here's some of the other finishers. Kevin McGear just missed. U.S. Open champion David Husted. Firestone for Berardi, Del Warren, Dave Traver, Jeff Miller, 300-man Bob Benoit, Mark McDowell, the college pro, Randy Lightfoot, Hook and Bob Hanley, Scoring Warren Nelson says hi to his daughter Brittany, Scott Monteleone, Hugh Miller the lefty, Shakeen up there, Moon Baker, Carmen Salvina, the godfather of professional bowling, Dickinson, Odrobinek, Tom Kreitz, and in 52nd and 53rd place, Adcock and Rakakis split $1,205 apiece, Chris.
That's right, and all the time you were doing that, Bo, that beautiful New Orleans jazz. Pete Fountain and his band, and here's a man that's playing sweet music on the bowling lanes today. Walter Ray Williams Jr., 2 wins. Now he faces McCordic. Eight strikes on the last match. He had 6 in his first win. Good way to start. Now, McCordic, 35-year-old veteran, 5'11", 175, 2 titles in Fresno and Tucson. What a complete follow-through.
Terrific shot, Chris. I haven't seen him throw the ball any better than this. That 4-step delivery with a slight delayed arm swing. Now watch him open his hand at the top of the swing. That's a little more wrist action he's going to get out of that. That's more than I've ever seen him have. Drives through hard with a pivot step, a long slide, good wrist snap, that follow-through. That is the best I've seen Pete McCordic throw the ball ever.
Spinning didn't get the 7.
The pin action has just not been there on this championship fair for the players. They've been around the pocket, have no trouble getting the pocket. It's just been the consistent carry that has been the slowdown of the scores. But excellent match game competition as two of bowling's experienced veterans going against each other in the semifinal. The winner meets Brian Voss.
Striking a spare for Pete McCordic of Houston. Walter Ray, who started out in the number 4th seed, has won 2 of his 5 titles from that 4th position. Don Carter in the light suit at the right of your screen with the shades. All right, opening with a double.
Very confident double. Walter Ray Williams Jr. is picking up the pace walking around the approach. He picked up the pace on the strike ball. Nothing tentative about that. Walter's always been a free spirit out there, a wild stallion, as you may say. And when he starts aiming, he's not as good as he can be. Those last 2 shots were just free as you'd want them. Now he can open with 3 strikes in a row, 3rd frame.
Happy with it, averting the split. 4-7.
A tentative Walter Ray Williams Jr. as the ball drifts high, almost leaves the 4, 7, and 10 pins. The 6 pushes out the 10 at the last moment. He avoids the split. But you know what he's doing is he's re-gripping the ball. As he brings it back to the top of his swing, he tries to aim it, and he loosens his grip and then re-squeezes, and that's when the shot becomes tentative. Let's watch for it.
Okay, we're revisiting New Orleans area for the umpteenth time. ABC does a Sugar Bowl here. Good Morning America has been here, and we've been here many, many times for professional bowling telecasts. All right, McCordic liked that. We asked him earlier what advice he would give to a young pro to keep him on the tour.
I think a promising talented person about 16 years old should just bowl as much as he can. There's a lot of colleges now that offer scholarships for bowling. I'd recommend that he go to college, get his education, and then come out here on tour and bowl with us. But the first thing is to go to college first.
Good advice. Big double for Pete McCordic, and his fans are delighted. We're in our 3rd game of the afternoon from Don Carter's All-Star Lanes.
For the pride, for the dream, for the love, and for the team, for the sweat and for the time, for the reason you strive.
For all you do, the clean, crisp taste of Beechwood aged Budweiser.
For years, you've seen some commercials where one battery outlasts the others, so you may have assumed their battery outlasts even Energizer. Fact is, Energizer was never invited to their playoffs, and today's Energizer won't be invited either. Why? Because no battery lasts longer than Energizer. So now you know. A word to the wise. Energize.
Tomorrow, a doubleheader. First, a Big Ten battle when Michigan takes on Indiana. Then, Temple tries to gun down UNLV. All tomorrow on ABC Sports.
Pete McCordic had a double up and was shooting in the 5th frame, trailing by 8. And while we were away, as we're running behind our time slot of 90 minutes, Walter Ray doubled.
Solid 7 for Pete McCordic. Watch the 4-pin. The 2 will drive it straight back, and he gets a terrible break on an apparent good hit. ends up with a spare. He only trails by 9.
McCordic in his 23rd television appearance over the years. Second this year, who's fourth at Quaker State, Forum Lanes in Grand Prairie.
McCordic, who had an opportunity to take the lead with that third consecutive strike in the 5th frame, the solid 7. Let's see how he reacts. Bad breaks sometimes affect different players differently. See how he comes back.
Here's a man that went 15 years without a win before he broke through and winning a PBA title at last year's Fresno Open. Right in the home area of this man, Walter Ray Williams, Jr.
Walter Ray, who's opting for one of his 3 re-racks that he's allowed in each championship game, apparently found something off spot. Usually it's the 3-pin that's slightly off spot, and the players don't like it tight, so he's gone for his re-rack, and he's up there now with a 9-pin lead, can extend to 19.
And if you just joined us, I'll bring you up to date. In the first game, this man defeated Tony Westlake 207 to 194, then eliminated Parker Bohn 222 to 191. Look at him, 3 in a row. Pretty sight for this pro.
His best shot in the 6th frame. He just steamrolled all 10 pins into the pit. You see those eyes. Look at Walter's eyes. He's starting to tune in. He can take a 29-pin lead with another strike.
All right. Walter Ray Williams with a 4-bagger and a 29-pin lead. More about Brian Voss.
Chocolate is scrumptious when it crunches. That's why I love Nestle Crunches. Milk chocolate, that's creamy. Blending crispy, so dreamy. Gotta have it, it's so scrumptious. Love that chocolate when it crunches. Chocolate is scrumptious when it crunches. That's why I love Nestle Crunch. Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
Quaker State engines run strong and run long because Quaker State exceeds every single car maker's U.S. requirements for maximum engine protection. The big Q stands for quality.
There are headaches.
And the car payment is overdue.
And headaches. There's aspirin and Anacin. The Anacin aspirin formula relieves headaches better than regular aspirin.
Feeling better, hun?
Not just better, better. Anacin, better relief.
Will it play in Peoria? Yes, if it's the $150,000 True Value Open. Next time, Genesis Heartland on ABC's Professional Bowlers Tour.
Well, a well-dressed Patrick McCordic and his mom, Susie, watching Dad bowl. Brother Michael is in the vicinity as well. A little younger and being babysat.
Right now, Pete McCordic, who had a real tough break in the 5th frame, left a solid 7, needs a strike here to close the lead of Walter Ray Williams Jr.'s from 29 down to 19, 7th frame.
And a 4.
Boy, if you can't string them together in bowling, it makes it so difficult. It looks like you're really, really struggling. McCordic, let's look at his game. Strike in the 1st frame, 7-pin could have gone in the 2nd, threw a good solid double in the 3rd and 4th frames, solid 7 in the 5th, strike in the 6th, and here a 4-pin. He could have 7 in a row. Not to be. He has 3 spares interspersed between the 4 strikes, and he trails by 29 pins through 7 frames.
It's the man that set a PBA record in 1987, winning 156,306 without a title. However, he did have a perfect 300 game and received a True Value hardware check for 100.
McCordic using a urethane ball. He has a little different grip than Walter Ray Williams Jr. He tucks his pinky finger around there for, just look at him, watch him tuck that pinky under there for a little better grip, and he uses the full grip. Nice shiny ball to hold the line.
And a high hit leaves him with the 3-6.
Chris, when you raise up before you hit a golf ball, you don't know where it's going, and the same thing happens with a bowling ball. Pete McCordic was pivoting with that pivot step, that right step into the slide, possibly took his eyes off the target, lifted up, the ball went right through the heart, 3-6 spare to convert.
Continuing to mark consistency. Spare in the 8th frame, and what a double header on ABC tomorrow at Assembly Hall in Bloomington, Indiana. The Wolverines come in to meet Bobby Knight's Hoosiers, and then Temple versus UNLV.
Temple and UNLV. Temple just lost to UNLV last year, 78-76. That should be a great one.
And it's an 8-pin.
Well, the solid taps have been the story today. Players with apparently they have great hits. The 1, 3, 5. Now watch the 5 pins. They go straight back off the 8. A solid 8 hit. Could have closed the door. Not to be for Walter Ray. He's going at a 237 pace. He just needs to convert some spares. The best McCordic can do is 227.
Walter Ray had a high game this week of 259. Which, of course, was far off Nelson Burton's standard that he set. It was a perfect 300, the only one here.
A decade between 300s. I don't want to wait that long again.
Oh, come on.
Now, Walter Ray, 9th frame, needs 2 marks, spare or strike, in both frames, and he'll go on to meet Brian Voss.
And should that happen, back-to-back weeks where Voss, a week ago, eliminated a great player named Pete Weber. So here there's a possibility of him having to face another great champion.
Tournament leader's only won 1 time this year, though. McCordic must strike. If he doesn't strike here in the 9th, 10th, and 11th frames, he loses.
Another 4-pin. The bane of a lot of bowlers' existence.
That's for sure. When the pros can carry the high hit, they're awfully tough, and this has been the downfall of Pete McCordic today. An excellently bowled game, but the best he can shoot is 216. Walter Ray Williams Jr. in the driver's seat, doesn't even need a mark. Chris, and going back to the college game, I know you got Indiana out there, and I'll tell you what, here's the way I look at that game.
Okay.
I think the best college talent is on Michigan's team.
I think you're right.
5 players against the best college coach, and I think that's the fellow you have there in Indiana. What do you think?
100% right.
Now give me an outcome.
Indiana will win as they did at Ann Arbor in their first meeting this year.
Come on.
This is Bobby Knight's my friend, and if I chose against him, I might never live in Indiana again.
Well, this match has already been determined. It's going to be Walter Ray Williams Jr. against Brian Voss.
All right. The Riverboat Gambler. Boys in the right town. So, Walter Ray Williams has won his 3rd match, ready for the title game as the Professional Bowlers Tour will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
I remember when I was a young man, my father telling me about the Yakima Indians. Their culture and history were one of America's greatest glories. Well, now I got the time to see it for myself. Of course, affording it's another matter. I wasn't sure I could make it, but AARP helped with discounts on hotels, motels, even the car I rented. So here I am. And you know what? My father was right.
AARP, making a difference.
The Clydesdales, the symbol of Budweiser quality. Of Beechwood aging, the choicest natural ingredients, and a genuine commitment to freshness and taste. One beer lives up to all this. Budweiser.
This week on the Monday Mystery Movie. Those people thrive on fear.
They're gonna kill one of my babies.
It gets dark, we've had it. Gideon Oliver, Monday.
I'm
Greg Mace. In week 4 of life planning, I'll look at a part of your life you should take more seriously. If you're all work and no play. Pick up our brochure and follow our recreation plan beginning Monday on 27 News.
The recreation plan brochures are available at your Sure Fine stores and WHTM TV.
They claim they help you lose weight, stop smoking, even calm your fears, all while you listen to music. Do these hot-selling tapes with hidden messages really work? Next Wednesday, she could win a Grammy. Meet the singer they're calling the female Springsteen. And find out why the Olympics were only the beginning for Jackie Joyner-Kersee. See it now, USA Today on TV, and see it from a different angle.
Get the USA Today, tonight at 7 on TV 27. Jim Morris, tonight at 6 and 11 on 27 News.
Hi, I'm Frank Gifford in New York, and coming up next on ABC's Wide World of Sports, the IBF World Lightweight title fight live from Hampton, Virginia. You'll see Olympic gold medalist Pernell Whitaker against defending champion Greg Haugen, one of the toughest customers in all of boxing. Also today, we'll showcase the speed and danger of the World Four-Man Bobsled Championship from spectacular Cortina, Italy. And we'll have our regular Athlete of the Week feature. It's all just ahead, an exciting day at 4:30 Eastern. Now back to Chris Schenkel and more bowling.
Thank you very much, Frank. And again, backstage at the All-Star Lanes with Don Carter's name on it. Williams improves as he goes along. 9 strikes in his 3rd game victory. 255 to McCordic's 204. But now the tournament leader, Brian Voss, who today, can he win, will add some points to his total. But this is the Budweiser Kingpin standings, and as you see, it is Randy Peterson in first place. Budweiser sponsoring a $50,000 pointless competition, which will run through the winter and spring tours. Players finishing among the top 24 will be awarded points, and points in Budweiser-sponsored events will be doubled, 125 points, to the bowler that wins today.
And Chris, coming up, I think one of the best matches we've had, or at least the best matchups we've had. They have the Bowler of the Year in 1985 and the all-time money winner for the 2 seasons, 85 and 86, going against the man who's been... They ought to put handcuffs on Brian Voss, honestly. It looks like he's stealing from these guys. He's bowling so good. But let's see how he does in the number 1 position.
Good speed and some carry, some help.
Watch the action of the head pin right here. The head pin is going to come straight across the lane and knock out the 10 pin. And what a great break to start. There it comes. Boom. Only for Voss.
And Mr. Williams comes right back with a boomer. And he can add some pressure here with a strike on the left lane. His average 202 this week on the championship pair. Voss's 231.5. And they crossed it only twice.
Once you've been Bowler of the Year, and both of these players have been Bowlers of the Years, you're almost impossible to be beaten. You have to have the other guy beat himself.
Just coming in, this head-to-head competition looked great on paper. Same is true on Wide World today in the Greg Haugen, the champion, lightweight, IBF, against Pernell Whitaker. It's really on paper a tremendous boxing bout. And this title match here, same ingredients. And we are all even after 2 frames each bowler.
Brian Voss with that textbook style 4.5 step delivery, a little stutter step to start. Watch the height of the backswing, the nice flat wrist. Now he'll curl that wrist underneath the ball right at the release point. Doesn't hook his hand around the ball. He'll lift straight up through it, and it just saws the rack in half to even the match. Both players perfect through 2 frames.
consecutive week that he's been on our telecast, winning last week. And in the previous two, he has a fourth and a victory. Oof.
This ball is just rolling so smoothly. He has the ability to be conscious enough and composed enough to keep it solid in the pocket.
All right, here's the counter punch by the former champion. That's how you feel after too many oysters, Rockefeller.
The ball comes in light in the pocket, hits the 1-3. Now watch the action as a 5-pin as it just dances across the lane. 1-3, touches the 5, wiggle, wiggle. Walter Ray giving a little body action. Once it gets by 9 degrees of parallel, it must fall, and it did. The match is even.
And then a 4-7. That's back to reality.
A surprising 4-7. You could see it on Walter's face. He thought the ball was solid in the hole. The 2-pin goes straight up over the top of the 4. Third pin on the left-hand part of your screen. Watch what happens. It just leaps over the 4 and 7 pins. Kind of crazy pin action today.
And a spare for Walter Ray Williams Jr. in the 4th frame in a tremendous championship battle at Don Carter's All-Star Lanes.
Every time I see my wife color her hair, the mixing, the mess, I'm glad I've got Grecian Formula 16 to get rid of gray. Grecian isn't a dye, it's a clear liquid. Just comb in a few drops a day, and gradually, week by week, natural-looking color comes back. Then use it once a week to keep it that way. I'd go nuts waiting 40 minutes.
I slave over my hair, but with Grecian, you guys have it so easy.
Grecian, the no-mess way to get rid of gray, gradually.
Users of nasal sprays invariably encounter the same problem.
Warm voice.
Sprays that roll back in their throat or drip out of their nose. To avoid this, they'll do just about anything. But this man has Sinex Ultrafine Mist. Its medicine doesn't roll back or drip out. It goes up and stays up, and that makes it better. So try Sinex Ultrafine Mist. It goes up and stays up. From Vicks, of course.
Now there's quite a trio. Don Carter, Junior Powell, Bert Rose. The last two, Toledo Connection, Don Carter, Mr. Universe. They were the general partners, 12 Don Carter bowling establishments.
And a 4th general partner, Jerry Eisen, in Miami, watching the action.
So, Voss's string stops at 3, left a 7-pin. Brian, who won his first title in 1983. Look at this.
He knows it's a good shot, but nobody's been able to keep that big string going today. 3 in a row for each player. Stops in the 4th frame. Voss would have a 1-pin lead with a conversion.
Brian Voss, who lost his first 6 from the top seed and then has won his last 2.
That is a change he's made in his game. He had that bump in his arm swing up till a couple years ago. He got that out of there. Plus, he became much more aggressive. Brian Voss was always somewhat condescending to his opponents in the championship round. Now he's an attacker.
And the man who will go to Peoria at River City to defend his True Value Championship at Ray Becker's Landmark Lanes. Our telecast will originate from there 1 week from now.
And next week it will be $200,000 for a perfect game. Nobody can roll a 300 this week in the finals of the Don Carter Championships. But $200,000 doubles the ante for the True Value Open as Walter Ray Williams Jr. and Brian Voss go at it 5th frame.
Hagen, the champion. Whitaker, the challenger.
Chris, you predicted the basketball game. You like Whitaker here. I'll take Hagen. He's just going to just dazzle him and beat him up.
For a dozen oysters, okay? That's our wager. 1 dozen freshly shucked oysters.
All right, Hogan, you listen to me, buddy. Take care of that boy. Now.
Okay. 4-pin for Walter Ray Williams as these two champions are bowling for a total of $58,000. One game head-to-head. $38 for the winner, $20 for the runner-up. Tremendous incentive for Williams. First appearance this year on our telecast after 9 last year. 10 for Voss last year. Don Carter holds the record with 18 in 1 year. Each frame like a boxing round, Bo. You're really getting some lead punches and then countering as Williams just did.
Talent and experience at the highest level. We had it last week with Voss and Pete Weber. Another man steps in to challenge Voss, Walter Ray Williams Jr. Now Voss with a chance to take a 12-pin lead, 6th frame.
What a convincing strike.
You know, I just took a look at the look on Walter Ray Williams' face when Voss threw that strike. Nobody likes to see a player throw that good a ball under pressure. Mostly, a player will show a little bit of emotion or say, hey, you know, this guy has a little chink in his armor. But Walter doesn't even want to look now. Voss looks too tough.
PBA National Champion. 3-bagger for Voss.
He's got it all going for him. The 2-pin goes to the sideboard, trips out the 4 and 7s. Haven't seen it happen much at all today in just a crucial time. A good break for Brian Voss. Now Walter Ray really has his back to the wall. He can't bank on Voss making a mistake.
Good comeback. Running the lead to 13 pins. This is one worth seeing, isn't it?
To give a tip to somebody who bowls at this level, an upcoming junior or maybe a top amateur, what do you do when there's this much pressure on the line? You take it one ball at a time. As you see Brian Voss working out that thumb hole a little bit. He must have hung up in one of those shots when he tripped that 4. What you have to do is take one shot at a time. That's what Walter's doing. He's not thinking about the 9th frame. He's thinking about the 8th frame right now and cutting the lead to 2 pins.
Come on! And again with a very strange leave of a 4-7 after the hit.
Just a little bit different roll. Voss throwing a little more hook than Walter Ray Williams Jr. And here in this Don Carter center, it seems like that little extra hook allows the 2-pin to go between the 4 and 7 pins and knock it over. Walter, with that driving type roll, is driving the 2-pin over the top of the 4 and 7s. It's been the difference in the match so far, as you see the grip of Walter Ray Williams Jr. on this straight ball.
Spare in the 8th frame for Williams, with 3 in a row. 8th frame for Brian Voss.
The last time I saw a player on a roll like this, Chris, is when your guy Hook and Bob Hanley just started bowling that way. Right at the end of, I believe it was the '84 season, he just dominated everybody. He didn't win every game, but he was just so awesome out there with that power. Voss has put that blend together of power and accuracy, and versatility is allowing him to just dominate these fields. It looks like the other players other than Walter Ray don't even belong out here. He's bowling that good.
Voss winning last week, Merritt Island.
Solid 10.
Yes.
You look at this match, we're talking Brian Voss. Cannot hardly do anything wrong. He leaves the 10-pin here, or he could have almost shut out Walter Ray, but the match is not over. Voss with a spare would be going at a 2:48 pace. Williams has a chance to close it out to 2:45. It will still go to the 10th frame.
Smooth Voss, exciting Walter Ray Williams. We mentioned earlier Voss defeated Pete Weber a week ago in the final game. Now this opponent.
In a must situation. 9th frame, potential 245, trails by 23 pins.
The 10.
Walter kept it in play, but didn't quite get the power to snap that 10-pin out. Somewhat dejectedly reaches for his spare ball. Still a potential 234 with a conversion, an outside chance for victory.
Big bucks in this final game. Winner with 38,000, runner-up 20.
Absolute must-strike situation for Walter Ray Williams Jr. He must strike in the 10th and 11th frames to have any chance. If he doesn't strike, the winner is Brian Voss.
And that 5.
Voss leans to the side, talks to Frank Esposito, and says, "What's the score?" The best Williams can do is 223. Voss would just have to show up in the 10th frame to win the match. He could go as high as 258.
There's Walter Ray Williams, who won 3 matches, improving with each game. Had a 207 in his first win, then 222, then 255 in his last game, but he has met Player of the Year in Brian Voss. Still a big 223 for Williams with 6 strikes.
Voss just has to stay behind the foul line, and he'll have his 2nd victory in a row, and we've only had 3 winners in 7 tournaments. 3 two-time winners.
Boy, Brian Voss, 7 years a PBA member. He has just won his 8th title, and a big one here in the Greater New Orleans Open.
Bob Vila's Home Improvement Secrets.
This beautiful wooden deck should be protected from the weather. First, we'll get rid of these rust stains with Zud Cleanser and a stiff brush. Natural wood's worth taking care of. By the way, with old plumbing, take care not to strip the pipe threads. I sprayed this corroded joint with 3-in-1 Plus. Waited a minute, and now it moves easily.
3-in-1 Plus Oil. Zud Cleanser. The Home Improvers.
Sag mal, irgendetwas probiert uns einzuholen. Hang es ab. Das ist doch nur ein Kleinwagen. Glaubst du, es ist der? Bitte, nicht hier. Guten Morgen. I hate Joe Isuzu.
The new 16-valve twin-cam Isuzu RS with Lotus Tune suspension will be hard to pass. And at $93.59, even harder to pass up.
Regardless of what some people think, all spark plugs aren't alike. These AC copper core plugs match my car's specs for up to 30,000 miles of high-revving firepower.
AC Delco parts. They don't just fit, they match. From the frigid Great Lakes
An Alka-Seltzer Plus, that's all I ever needed.
to the icy mountains of Oregon,
It's been excellent for me.
more and more Americans are taking Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine. Fast, effective relief for tough winter colds.
In a word, it works.
One of the ring's toughest fighters, IBF lightweight champ Greg Haugen meets the #1 contender, Pernell Whitaker. Live next on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Brian Voss, back-to-back victories, picking up 38,000 today. Walter Ray Williams, 20,000, 245. Big title game to Williams, 223. Quickly to Bo.
Chris, I have the runner-up here, Walter Ray. You have to be pretty happy with your performance today.
Yeah, I bowled very well today. I was pretty happy with what I threw the ball.
2 fast 4-7s, really the change in the match. And what do you have to say about Walter Ray? Walter to Brian Voss. He's kind of got it going, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got everything going for him right now. I thought I had it for a while, but he showed me a little better.
All right, Chris, with some great champions, the final presentation.
That's right, with John McGee and with Raffy Carry-On and one of my heroes, Don Carter. You're fast becoming a hero.
I'd like to thank Don Carter Lanes. You know, I've been all over the country, and I've been in a lot of centers, and they got the right idea on how to build a bowling center. I tell you what, they're just great, and I look forward to coming back here. I want to say hi to my dad in Anchorage. I miss you. Hurry and get a phone so I can call you.
Well, last year, you started really rolling in March, and now in February, you're off to a quicker start as Player of the Year last year.
I know. I don't know what to say. We've got our big tournaments coming up. I wanted to kind of save myself for those. Who knows? Maybe I win 3 in a row.
Well, you spent a lot of time at the beach. Perhaps the suntan and all that helps?
I love it down here in the warm weather, you know. I just love it. I love this day. Yeah.
Don, you experienced so many of those happy moments, I know. It's really something to watch these two in that final game.
It really was. Walter bowled a nice game. He bowled very well. Had a couple bad breaks, and Brian just seems like he's unbeatable lately.
Why don't you give Brian the check that'll brighten up those eyes? Not that they aren't. Raffy Carry-On with a very expensive and heavy trophy. Isn't it magnificent? Specially crafted for Bert Rose and Junior Powell and Jerry Eisen. Just for you, young man.
You know, I looked at this trophy earlier in the week, and I said, I want that. It's kind of heavy to pick up, so that's why he's not handing it to me.
I got a feeling they'll ship it to you.
I hope so.
All right, we'll see you next week. You'll be defending the True Value.
Like I said, got him on a roll. I'd sure like to win 3 in a row. It hasn't been done in a long time, but there's 160 guys that have something to say about that.
Don, thanks for your hospitality.
Thank you. And on behalf of my partners, Junior Powell and Bert Rose and Jerry Eisen, and all the fine people here in New Orleans, I'd like to present this check for $38,000.
Not bad. Okay. Executive producer of ABC's Professional Bowlers Tour is Jeffrey Mason. Today's telecast was produced by Carol Letty and directed by Ned Simon, who leaves us today, but he'll be back. Technical director Les Wise. Now this is Chris Schenkel along with Nelson Burt Jr. saying so long from Harvey, Louisiana, on the other side of the Mississippi. Sorry to leave the Vauquerie, the French Quarter, but coming up next, ABC